Ma'am, at what point did you conceptualize this idea and what informed, an idea like this?
Well, SMEs have always been very important to me. I have, a couple of things that I'm very passionate about. Agriculture is one, and we've talked about that in the past, and working with SME development because I believe in their role in economic growth. And when I was here, that was one of the areas that I didn't feel we did a lot on. We did some things on, but I think there were other avenues where you really needed to address some of the things that SMEs talked about a lot. I mean, you can do the workshops, you can do the training, but universally they all said it was very difficult to get access to capital and access to bankers to really hear and make their pitches. And so that was an area where, I took it on board in my mind saying, okay, that's one of the areas that when I have more time to focus on specific programs, that would be one that I would want to work on. And Western Union reached out to me because of my interest in SME and SME development, and they had the African Diaspora Marketplace program. So we brought those together as a conceptual idea. How do we help the people in ADM get access to capital, and then bringing the issue of finance to the table as well. And so when they approached me about it, I thought of, okay, why not do this in Nigeria? And then, of course, with my long-standing relationship with Bank of Industry, I brought the idea to the Bank of Industry to do a partnership event with Western Union and the ADM partners and with Bank of Industry and its partners, where we could really address one of the core issues for SMEs, which is access to capital and being able to really pitch their ideas before banks. And, of course, I have an incredible amount of respect for the what's been done in the banking sector here, the transformation that has taken place in the banking sector in Nigeria. So, of course, I wouldn't go anywhere else to present, put together, or request an opportunity to do a live banking panel than here in Nigeria.
Okay, based on the SMEs you saw who came here, what did you think they were lacking, and how do you think this forum has been able to assist them to key into what they were lacking initially?
I think, a tremendous amount of applause needs to go to the banking representatives that participated in the live panels, because they were very, very good. They gave great constructive criticism, they gave great recommendations, and they were really very forthcoming in what the companies needed to do. I think overall there's a sense that there was a learning curve here for the SMEs, because I think a lot of them see, bankers as obstacles to what they want to do. I think in this venue they saw bankers as friends of what they want to do, and I think that's a paradigm shift that's really important. But in addition to that, you had really innovative ideas being presented, but sometimes you can have a great idea but you can't really execute it because you haven't really thought about the financials, you haven't thought about the market, and you haven't thought about, if you want to expand, what needs to be addressed in your proposal in order for expansion. So I think those three areas were really, really key in what the SMEs learned from the bankers.
Okay, from here, where do this program, where are you taking it to?
Well, we're going to have an after-action discussion tomorrow, but so I can only share with you sort of the things I kind of put on a checklist for myself. One is definitely a workshop for SMEs and how you actually do a presentation. We had a mixed bag in terms of the capability of people being able to really present in a comprehensive manner. That we had some that came in that had everything from A to Z that they needed. They were able to present, they had their financials, they had their documentation, and they really had thought through their market and the obstacles in their market. And then you had some that hadn't done any of those things or a variety of those things. So I think a fundamental workshop about how you make a presentation to a banker I think would be a good one. And in that I would think that we could put together a mock panel. A mock panel of bankers where people could practice on how to do a presentation to a banking panel. That would be one that I would think you want to do. Then the other one is how you write a better business plan. Some of the business plans also varied in their quality and in their detailed information. So how do you write a good business plan? I know there's a lot of workshops on that, but what we would do is kind of a real-time one. We would take your current plan that you presented, and we would do a report card on it, and really walk them through the steps. So those are the two that came to mind for me. And of course, we'll be in a committee tomorrow, and I'm sure that other members of that team, BOI team, and others, and some of the other donors will have other ideas. But those were two that came to mind for me.
Okay, I remember the DG of Smeden, that's the small and medium enterprises, yesterday was here, and he said they wanted to be this kind of program to be replicated in other parts of the country and on a quarterly basis. What's your take on that?
Well, we're going to sit down tomorrow and look at all of those things. I think there's some challenges to doing it quarterly because you want it always to be of a certain caliber. And this was not a public event, and I think that that's one. And the reason it wasn't, we wanted the SMEs to come through organizations that had worked with them. So it wasn't an open event for anyone that was an SME. It was a vetted event where we worked with partner organizations and we had them extend the invitations to their participants so that we had a vetted event. So we came in with a certain caliber of SMEs that had already at least thought through a good idea, at least a business proposal idea. So I think doing it on a quarterly basis, may be a bit of a challenge. But we'll talk about that in the committee tomorrow to see. But just from my initial perspective, knowing how much work went into this and how long it took to get this one off the ground and, really conceptualize it so that it's effective, not only for the participants, but for the bankers. Because I think the bankers learned something today, too. I think they were impressed by the array of ideas that were out there and really the excitement that I think SMEs bring to the banking center. And then I think one of the unwritten successes that I saw just as a communications person is really the collaborations amongst the banking panels with the bankers themselves, because most of the times they don't get to work collaboratively necessarily together. And this time I think they really got a kick out of that and enjoyed that.
Thank you very much, ma'am.